This is a test. For the next few minutes, the emergency broadcast system of your brain is going to conduct a test. We're going to suspend reality for a moment, all right? And I'm going to ask you the question, what if? What if Muhammad was the last prophet, the seal of the prophets, as he called himself? Now, I'm going to explain to you what that means and the most simple structure of Islam. But before I do, and before we put ourselves in that and say, okay, I am now going to become a Muslim, therefore, what does that mean for me? Before we do that exercise, I know it's a little troubling for some of us, but just stay with me. Some of you just watch. Some of you just watch, okay? I can see people that are getting creeped out. All right, just stay with me. But I want to explain something that's really important. There are many people in the press, many people in the general public, many people in government and public policy and in law enforcement who have failed or deliberately refused to differentiate between Islam and a Muslim. Did you know that there's a difference? A Muslim is an individual. Islam is a religion, a political and juridical school of thought. It involves politics and governance. It involves punishment of crimes. It has a foreign policy. It's a comprehensive, soup to nuts blueprint for what is right and wrong, good and evil, and what a society should look like under one Islamic ruler called a caliph. All right? This is, and by the way, there's a verse in the Bible that says, let the lips of another praise thee and not thy own. So if I'm sinning right now, please forgive me. I'm not trying to. I'm really not. But I want to say one quick parenthesis. I know what I'm talking about because I've studied this stuff for over 10 years. I have a master's degree from a military school, Norwich University, in diplomacy and international terrorism. And the bulk of my research for my master's degree was in Islamic terrorism. So when I watch newscasters, I can tell immediately who knows and who doesn't know what they're talking about. And most of them have no clue what they're talking about. They're clueless. And so they invite specialists on the air who are equally clueless and then say idiotic things like, the reason we have terrorism is because of the economic inequities in the Middle East, or because of the poverty and the lack of jobs with young Muslim males in the Middle East. It's absurd. It's laughable. It's just not true. And it shows that they're trying to put their view of terrorism through the grid that they've studied. So if they've studied economics or communist or Marxist or socialist economics, they view the whole world through that grid. And they try and say, well, yeah, what it's really about is poverty. Never mind that so many of the leaders of Al-Qaeda were wealthy, highly educated, physicians. Never mind that. It's a suspension of truth about Islam because they're trying to force the behavior of certain Muslims through their grid, through the understanding that they have. All right? So you have to differentiate between a Muslim and Islam, just like you could differentiate between a Christian and Christianity. A Christian could do a lot of bad things, okay? Someone who professes faith in Christ can steal, rob, kill. I mean, they could just break all the commandments, okay? We've seen it. King David, a man after God's own heart, committed adultery and murder, okay? Peter, upon this rock I'll build my church, denied the Lord with cursing and swearing. So we can see that good people, individuals, can do bad things. That does not define the religion of Christianity. Do you understand the difference? So we're going to look at Islam, not individual Muslims. When we study Islam, Islam gets to define itself. For example, let me take it out of Islam. If you want to study Roman Catholicism, You don't learn it from Protestants. You learn it from Catholics. You let Catholicism speak for itself. You study the Council of Nicaea, right? Nicaea 1 and 2. You study the Council of Ephesus. Do you understand? You study the Council of Trent, because these are the bodies of thought and history that are unique to the Catholic Church and to the Orthodox Church. Many of them are to the Orthodox Church as well. They get to speak for themselves. You don't get to choose what you wish it was. You have to let Catholicism speak for itself. You study Augustine. You study Thomas Aquinas. That's it, all right? If you want to study what it means to be a Baptist, you study Charles Spurgeon and other Anabaptists of the era. Do you understand? You want to study Presbyterianism, you study John Calvin, John Knox, all right? If you're going to understand Islam, then you must study Muhammad, his words, his behavior, and let him and the first generations of Muslims speak for themselves. So we're going to do that little exercise when I come back from this break. We're going to jump right in, okay? But please understand, calm down. There's a difference between a Muslim and an Islam, the religion of Islam. Some Muslims are devout and they really follow it. Some Muslims aren't. They'll drink beer, they'll eat pork. They're Muslims because they have a profession. And we'll tell what that is. We'll begin at the beginning and then say, okay, what if we convert? What if you and I convert to become really, really devout Muslims and followers of Muhammad? What does that mean? Can you say the word terror?